Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make cheese and garlic biscuits. This is going to be a copycat version of our favorite restaurant, the biscuits that they serve. This is going to be a spoon bread, and I've made it one time, and when I'm usually making stuff at home, I don't really measure anything. So today I will be measuring this out so you can make it. But it's going to pretty much start out like my regular biscuit recipe with a few different twists. So I'm going to take my self-rising flour, but first on my cookie sheet I always line it with some foil, because I find that when I make biscuits or something on non-stick pans, I don't like how the bottom browns up on it. So even when I'm making regular biscuits, I always line it with some tin foil. And especially since we're adding a lot of cheese, cheese is going to stick really no matter what, but this does help with the cleanup. So I'm going to grease with some regular vegetable shortening, and I'm going to grease it pretty good. But I just take a paper towel, fold it up, and just grease it real good on the sides and everything. And then you can discard that. But I'm going to start off by sifting 2.5 cups of self-rising flour. And I do use a good name brand flour, because to me it makes a difference. Then I'm going to take about a nearly a half cup back out, just to reserve it in case I get my dough a little bit runny. On this, you don't want it to be a real good stiff dough to roll out. You do want it to be real moist. So let me get my milk product ready. You can use whole milk, buttermilk, 2% milk, whichever kind, but today I like buttermilk biscuits, but I don't buy buttermilk because I only use it to make my biscuits, and half the time it turns out bad. So I found this buttermilk blend, and it's real good. You just mix it with some water. So let me get that mixed up, but you can use regular milk. You take 4 tablespoons to 1 cup of water, and on this it did say to refrigerate after opening. And then with my itty bitty whisk, I blend it up. Like I say, I'm using 1 cup. I might not use it all, or I might need to add a little bit more. So if you're using regular milk, just start out with 1 cup. Alright, on my shortening, and it's solid vegetable shortening. Let's see. I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of the solid vegetable shortening. And on my butter, your butter needs to be cold. And you can use stick butter. I'm using 1 tablespoon, because this was a half tablespoon. I'm using 1 tablespoon of butter. Now you can use a pastry blender to mix all that in. I tend just to use a fork, but you want to get that blended up real good. Just mash and mix. While you're doing this, you can shake it and see where the big clumps are. Mash them out. When you get it to where there's no big lumps of the butter shortening, you know, like looks like little, like coarse cornbread or like little peas in there. You know, mix it real good. Then I am using mild cheddar cheese, the shredded kind. You can use sharp cheddar. I'm using about 1.5 cups. Or you can shred your cheese from block cheese. But you want to get that mixed up real good, coated well with the flour. Get it stirred around in there. And then we're going to start adding our liquid. And it depends on what type of day it is. If it's a humid day, a dry day, on how much liquid you're going to need. And you really can't mess it up. If you get it too runny, just add a little bit more flour. If you get it too dry, add a little bit more liquid. So I've added about half the mixture. Just stir it around. And I can tell right now I'm going to need it all. And I probably made it a little bit too runny, but that's okay. That's why I reserved some of the sifted flour. I'll sprinkle in a spoonful at a time. Do another little spoonful. Alright, this is about the consistency that I want it. It's still, if I touch it with my finger, it's still sticky. Like if I was going to roll these out in my hand, of course I would dip it in the flour and stuff. But since I'm going to spoon it, then I don't have to do that. So let me clean up a little bit and then we'll spoon them onto the pan. Alright, in my reserved flour, I'm going to dip my spoons in there. This is like a tablespoon. I'm going to scoop me up a little bit. Good dollop of it. And just put it on my pan. Kind of dip it again. And lay them close together. These won't be the prettiest things, but they sure are good. So that's what they look like. These will go in a preheated 425 degree oven, and I'll let you know about how long that they've cooked. And I'm actually making mine ahead of time. I don't want to cook mine right now, so I will cover them with foil and put them in my refrigerator and then set them out about 15 or 20 minutes before I go to bake them. With this leftover flour right here, we really didn't stick our hands in it or nothing. We just put our spoons in there. I will just add this back to my flour. And also, just this is a quick way that I clean up. I put some in there. And then it helps with that sticky to get your bowling all cleaned up. Now this I will not add back to my flour. I'll just throw it away. But just kind of coat it out. And then that way all that ain't going down your drain in your sink. And just kind of clean my bowl up with that and throw it away. And then just rub it to get it off my fingers. So let me get this cleaned up and I'll show you the butter topping. For our butter topping, I am going to take about 3 tablespoons of butter. This doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to melt that in the microwave. So, I'll be right back. I didn't fully melt mine, but that's alright because I'm just going to set this on the back of the stove till my bread gets done. So, this time you'll be seeing me use garlic salt. And it depends on how much garlic that you like. But let's see, I'm going to add a half teaspoon. That's 1/2 teaspoon. I feel like I'm saying this wrong. That's only a half of a teaspoon of garlic powder. This says garlic salt, but it's garlic powder because I don't use garlic salt. And then I use the dried parsley flakes. You can use fresh. But for the dried parsley flakes, I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon of that too. So that's 1/2 teaspoon of the dried parsley flakes and garlic powder. Mix that up. If you want to put this back in the refrigerator till your bread gets done, if you want to make ahead of time, that's fine. I'm just going to leave it setting on the back of my stove while I'm cooking. And then when my biscuits get done, I will immediately brush them with this. So we'll be back when all of that gets ready. Alright, my cheese biscuits cooked at 425 degrees for 13 minutes and 45 seconds. So as soon as you remove them, and you won't be able, don't go by if they're how brown you think they are on the top, because you don't want the bottom to get real brown. Just take a knife and lift it up. But these are done. You can see some of the brown spots. Then immediately take your butter mixture and brush it on there. I can already smell the garlic. If you don't like that much garlic, then use less. Now we're going to let these set for about 5 minutes. And then I'll be back. Okay, our biscuits have been setting for about 5 minutes. And now the tricky part is to get them out, because this does stick. If I had some of the non-stick foil, I would have used that. See, that's crust on the bottom. But just take a spatula, go up under them, loosen them up. After they set for a while, they don't stick as bad. And just pull them apart, see how soft that they are and cheesy. If you have any left over, I just wrap them up, put them in the refrigerator. When we get ready to eat one, take it out, wrap it up in a paper towel, and microwave it for a few minutes. Yours might not take 13 minutes to cook. Yours may take a minute more or a minute less. Just keep a check on them. And like I say, do let them sit before you try to get them out of the pan, because they stick bad when they're real hot and fresh out of the oven. But the butter soaking down in there does help loosen them up. So I hope that you enjoy.